folks. How you doing? So, go that way a little more, just a touch. There we go. I think that looks better. How's everyone doing? Oh, headphones are caught. Classic. That's why I hate in-ears. They suck. But sometimes you have to wear them, right? Today I'm actually running an amp. I've got my amp back there, the Bassman. It was set up, ready to go. Just been doing a bunch of stuff, sort of Christmas preparation stuff. So, amp was set up. I didn't, my Fractal, all my gears, as you can see in the rack back there. Both the acoustic guitars are down here. Took out the nylon string and the steel string for a gig on Friday. I played a concert with an orchestra where we played a movie soundtrack. We did the movie The Holiday. I don't know if any of you have seen The Holiday, but we played that soundtrack, live orchestra playing the soundtrack, and then they had the film up on the big screen behind us. I think it was maybe 2,500 people, something like that, at whatever the Michael Fowler Centre holds in Wellington. So it was kind of an interesting gig, and I played mostly nylon string acoustic guitar, then a little bit of steel string, and then I think it was about 3 or 4 electric tunes. And all the electric tunes were mostly the same kind of part. There was this sort of figure that went. That was like the bulk of it, and then there was one other kind of more rocking tune, and the big songs of that movie were all on tracks, because they had obviously the dialogue playing for the film, so you could hear what the actors were saying. And then there were big songs. I think Respect was in there, the Aretha Franklin thing, stuff like that. It was all on tracks. Nearing the end of the year, eh? Goes quick, doesn't it? I really enjoy this time of year, though. So yeah, that movie soundtrack was the last gig of the year until New Year's Eve. And I'll be playing on the waterfront with the orchestra. So we'll be playing, when I say orchestra, I mean it's like a put-together orchestra. A put-together orchestra called Orchestra Wellington for this particular gig. And we're playing pop songs. So there's a whole lot of that kind of stuff, which should be fun. I can't remember what we're playing, but I can look up the list and yeah. I think the Bassman's the greatest amp that was ever invented, in my opinion. What do you guys think? What do you think's the greatest amp ever invented? I reckon it's the Fender Bassman. The reason I say that is that most other amps came from that, right? There we go. Look, right, like there'd be no Marshall without the Fender Bassman, because basically they were a Bassman amp, but they took the available parts and separated the head and cab into 2 parts. But one we're playing for New Year's Eve is whatever it is. Can't Stop the Feeling, Don't Stop Believing. Whatever it is, something like that. There's a whole lot of charts here. That's why I'm looking at them. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, Happy. Right. Kind of classic pop. Want to Dance with Somebody, right? I Will Survive. 500 Miles is the song I'm least looking forward to. It's just shit. Sorry if people like it, but oh my god, I hate that song. It just drives me up the wall. It just reminds me of like drunken pub idiots, which we have a lot of in Wellington, where people get, you know, go and drink too much and they go sing those songs, you know. God. Raining Men, Living on a Prayer. That'll be fun, actually. Man, I Feel Like a Woman. Something like that, whatever it is. Mr. Brightside, played that before. September. That's a cool tune. And so many people play September wrong, right? I see so many people go. It's not that. Like, doesn't is it Al McKay, I think, was playing on that album, but he was like. Right, there's all these little funky bubblegum type parts that he plays, you know. The other thing with that tune too is there's like a lot of people go. Now here, it's a C7 on that chord right there, right? And I hear so many people play minor, and I'm like, no, it's wrong. It's dominant, really clear to me. Sweet Dreams. So yeah, it'll be quite a kind of a big gig, because it's a big outdoor thing with a smallish orchestra, like a pop orchestra, and then they shut off a lot of the streets and things around. But apparently there's a competing concert on this year. Don't know why councils decide to do something about a kilometre away in Courtney Place. So there'll be a big open party there with some kinds of bands, and then of course what we're doing. So yeah, but anyway, Sweet Dreams, Simply the Best, Final Countdown. I haven't played that for so long. Something like that. I'll look at the charts, of course. They've sent through the charts. It's interesting, these sort of stuff, I've played most of these in some way or another, but I know all of them like the back of my hand. So the thing is, I could probably sight read all this stuff down and it'll be fine. We Are the Champions, which I played before. What a Wonderful World, that's a pretty song. And of course, Wonderwall, which I hate, but there you go. It's funny how often we end up playing songs we hate. Tell me if you're hearing everything okay. I hope you are. I mean, I know what I'm hearing in my in-ears, but I hope you're hearing this. Funny how I'm just so not a Strat guy. You know what I mean? To me, they sound good for a certain thing, but I find that I just generally prefer a thicker, fatter tone, like a more Gibson type tone. You know, doesn't have to be a Gibson, but do you know what I mean? Like that, and that's what I think I like about that Paul Reed Smith with the 3P90s. The guitar, I've been playing that a lot lately, actually, and it's quite a versatile guitar. Like it does the Strat thing kinda, but it kind of does the Gibson thing kinda, but it's right in that middle. I mean, even down to the scale length, being a 25-inch scale instead of a 25.5 like this, or a 24.75. Oh, cheers, Glenn. Glenn says, Merry Christmas, Merry Xmas, and a Happy New Year, Nick. Thanks very much. Same to you, Glenn. To you and your family. I hope everything's well, and I hope you have a great season. I love this time of year. My daughter was hassling me about it. She was going, we need to put up the Christmas tree tonight. I said, I've got to do my live stream. I do it every Sunday. She goes, there's more to life than work. I was like, yeah, but I do these live streams every week. That's what I do. Looks like I got something on my face. I've been in the garage today. As you can probably tell by this filthy looking shirt. There are some certain things about a Strat though that I do really enjoy. I mean, firstly, one thing I do enjoy is how comfortable they are. They just sit well, all the nice rounded edges, this little bit with the arm tuck, the tummy tuck, all these things just make it. You know what I mean? But yeah. Glenn says, hello Nick, forgot to say check out George Benson version of Walk On By and Sunny and Very Good Cheers. Ah, I haven't heard that. No, I should check it out. I went through a big phase of George Benson, you know, I know I've talked about this quite a bit on the channel. Was really into that Cookbook album. If you guys haven't heard that, go and check it out. Benson sounds badass on that. But also like the breezing and things like that. What about Strat with the humbucker in the bridge? Yeah, that's what I much prefer, to have a humbucker in the bridge of a Strat. I don't like Strat bridge pickup at all. I pretty much wouldn't even use that. But what I do like, the reason I haven't changed it on this guitar, is I've got other guitars with a humbucker in the bridge. Is that sound. Those two single coils. To me, there's basically two sounds on a Strat that I like. Neck pickup, and I'd live there 90% of the time. Occasionally this one. Neck and middle. And then those two. But so yeah, and this guitar is just a knock-around guitar. I have this at home. I bought this for $200 from some kid and got it fixed up and stuff, and it was and it's fine, you know. I mean, it's one of the better Squires I've played, but it's still just a Squire Strat. But it works. Pardon me. But it just works, so I just use it. If I have a student come around for a lesson or something, they can play this guitar if they haven't got their guitar. But occasionally I use it for recordings because, you know, I don't have another single coil in the bridge, and sometimes you just need that thing. Oh, hey, Charles Gray, he says 7:05 here. Merry Christmas and all that. Oh, cheers, dude. Thanks. Right back at you. Deuteronomy says, some players prefer to have only one pickup due to excessive magnetic string pull affecting the sustain. Have you noticed this? Yeah, totally. It does make a difference. One thing that people don't ever talk about, though, too, is with single pickup guitars, there's another big advantage, and I'll get to it in a minute. Yeah, one thing about that, too, is it's right where the 24th fret would be. So this is something my buddy Warren Mendonza pointed out, and I hadn't even thought about, but I'm on neck pickup at the moment. Right, those will work. But if I play the 5th fret, they don't really even happen. Go to the bridge pickup, and there's those harmonics back. See? See, as soon as I change the neck pickup, the harmonics are gone because of that positioning of that. One of the big things with only having a single pickup, especially a bridge pickup here, that changes a big thing on guitars. Like, have any of you ever played a Les Paul Jr.? I didn't really get the whole one bridge pickup thing. And then I was in Los Angeles and I went to, I did some teaching at Musicians Institute. They do like an open counseling thing, and I was one of the teachers on that. And Alan Hines was in the room next door. So Alan and I just ended up, instead of being in two separate rooms, we were like, let's just have a jam play together. But he had just bought this 1959 Les Paul Jr. And he just had it refretted and it was stunning. And the thing is, he played a chord and this thing just, the sustain and ring just went on for ages. It was incredible. Yeah, so definitely less magnetic pull means you get more sustain, so that single pickup thing was cool. But more importantly, on a Les Paul Jr., if you have a neck pickup here, like a two pickup on those sort of things, there's not, like on an SG2, there's not a lot of wood around this point of the neck where it joins. It's like it's getting pretty thin. That's why a lot of SGs, if you play an SG, you can kind of go, and they'll go really wonky because you can really move it in the neck pocket. There's not, but single pickup means there's a whole lot more wood there, which means the neck joint is better, which I think is probably part of it too. But yeah, I tend to prefer to have more than one pickup in the guitars, just because I usually, like now, I'm not going to swap to another guitar to get neck pickup, am I? For recording, it's handy. You know what I mean? But yeah, back to George Benson. So that sort of stuff was really big for me for a while. Yeah, it was awesome. And blah blah blah, and then I was really into GB for some time, and he's one of the greatest guitar players to walk the planet, really. And the thing with him, like, people know his pop songs, and I'm glad he had that pop success, but check out the early stuff. He was a bad dude, like that album Witchcraft, or like I said, Cookbook's my favorite. Just sounds killer. Glenn says Fender Twin Reverb. What about Fender Twin Reverb? It's funny, the 25.5-inch scale, after you've been playing the 25-inch scale, or even like a Gibson 20, it feels funny after a while, but they're cool. What do you mean about, sorry Glenn, you said Fender Twin Reverb. Great amps. I like Twin Reverbs a lot. I used to really be into Fender Twin Reverbs. Nowadays, it's not one I'd play so much. The thing I find with Twin Reverbs is they weigh a ton. I just can't be bothered carrying it. Someone else will carry it, maybe. But even then, I find they're very clean, and they're hard to kind of get to that point where, you're at the edge of breakup, which is really what I want with an amp. I mean, even my Bassman now, like, if I put it on 10, you can hear it distorting this microphone. The amp's all the way over there. This one I'm kind of having to ride my volume on the guitar a bit. And it's still like overpowering it, and I've got the amp down as low as it'll possibly go. Literally, if I turn the control one more turn, no sound. Crazy, yeah. But it's the best clean tone I've ever heard is that Bassman, so that's what it's really my favorite clean tone amp. So getting it at the point of breakup is not such an issue with that amp. But usually what I want from an amp is, the edge of breakup. And the main reason for that is if you use pedals like I do to kind of push an amp over to get distortion, you don't want them to be hitting a clean amp. And the reason is, if you think about like the tube screamer circuit, for example, it's a distortion of some sort. In that case, it's or overdrive. It's a soft clipping, right? But it also blends the clean tone in with the affected tone, right? If your clean tone is like bone dry clean, there's no blend. They just sound awful. But if your clean tone that's coming from your amp has a little bit of hair on it, like it's on the edge of breakup, and then your pedal is distorted, that the blend of those two seems to work better. And a lot of the pedals I really like have some kind of clean blend on it. Not necessarily tube screamers. I do like tube screamers, and I have a few of them. And one of the main reasons I don't use one these days is I use the Fractal a lot of the time, even though I'm not using it now. But both my main amps are Victorias, and they're tweed amps. And tweed amps are really mid-range heavy. So you have a tube screamer that's mid-range heavy too, it becomes a problem. Deuteronomy says, the classic Roland Jazz chorus amps seem to be loved by some, but not at all. Yeah, I've had hit and miss with those. You know what I mean? Sometimes they can be good, decent, most of the time not. Like, I used one the other day, and it was a 4x10 Roland Jazz chorus, something I'd never seen before. And it sounded okay, but it was beat up, and it wasn't really working properly. That's why backline sucks, right? Like, I have it all the time. Now, I was using my Fractal, so at least I knew what the front of house was getting was good. And the supplied amp, I was like, okay, well, that can be this Roland. It's really only my monitoring, and I kind of know what my tone's happening out front, so as long as I can hear myself, I'm good to go. Yeah, although I'd much rather a Fender FR10 or 12. So New Year's Eve, they're supplying a Fender FR12 from a hire company. So I had a PV Bandit in the 90s. Yeah, me too. I had a PV Bandit, and I had one of the best PV amps I ever had was the classic 50 4x10. I don't know if you guys remember that. It's sort of a... No, I wouldn't really even say it's like a Bassman. I mean, it's like a Bassman in that it has 4 10-inch speakers, and that's about it. Because the EL84s and it had, but they were real mid-rangey kind of. They weren't voxy sounding at all. They were a really unusual amp. I had a classic 30 as well. I never liked that one as much, but the classic 50 4x10 was a really special, cool amp. Good channel switching on it too, kind of made it handy. Not that I particularly liked the overdrive tone, but nonetheless, just having it there. You don't have to use it, but hey, what about that time when you don't have pedals or whatever with you, and you kind of go, yeah. Deuteronomy says, good metal sounds from the PV. Yeah, they do that well, don't they? Like the 5150, right? Became kind of synonymous with a lot of that kind of tone. And yeah, a friend of mine had a 5150 years ago, quad and head, and I remember that being really quite a good distortion sound, but quite mid-range forward, right? It had a lot of mid-range, low mid especially, you know. So for me, I've kind of for years always been into just a really good clean amp. If an amp does a good clean sound, like my Victoria, I don't know if you can see it back there. You can see the corner of it. You know, that's a killer clean tone, especially at that edge of breakup. Like, it's just super sweet. It's huge sounding 4x10s, 45 watts, I think it is. More than enough for anything, right? It hasn't been the most reliable in the last few years. It's had been fixed about 5 times, and every time it keeps dying on a gig, which is always like scary to be there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit. But it's been running for a couple of years at home now. And actually, last time I took it out for a gig, I took my little Tweed Deluxe as well, with the idea being that run them both at the same time, and then if the Bassman was to go down, at least I've got another amp. I'm thinking about doing a version of Holding Back the Years. I did it for this for one of the intros the other day. You know, that Simply Red thing? It's a great tune. Sorry about that. My phone fell out of the holder. Crap. It's the first time that's happened. It's kind of all a little bit dodgy rigged today. I've never had that happen before, so hopefully that's never going to happen again. Apologies for that. Anyway, I'll pick up where I left off. The irony of I'll keep holding on when the phone holder doesn't keep holding on. It's funny just playing this guitar. I've also got a whole lot of gunk over my fingers. I don't know if you can see that. Like I said, I've been in the garage making something for my brother, and glue and sawdust. Super glue doesn't come off that easy. It'll come off in the next few days, but... You know, man, a lot of my gigs, that's what I end up doing, right? It's just, you know, you work on all this stuff, being able to play over fancy chord changes, being able to play, you know, really difficult tunes, all this stuff, and then you get to the gig, and the gig is... But you know, man, I'm happy playing that stuff as long as people are digging it. You know what I mean? I'll sit on those sort of grooves all night. If it's going to keep people happy, then sweet. Huh. Yeah. It's kind of tricky. Any questions? Anything you want to know? I'm more than happy to answer questions or teach some stuff, or you want to see some things or some expensive guitar chords. I can show you a couple of expensive guitar chords if you want to know some. Or suggestions of tunes to play. Completely blank then. I gotta say, I don't like having that mic right there. It's super annoying. I'm thinking I'm gonna bang into it. Won't sound as good. How's that? I found liquid wrench is good to remove glue from your fingers and wash it with soap and water. What's liquid wrench? I don't think... We probably don't have that in New Zealand. I don't think I've ever seen a liquid wrench. There is a stuff you can get. I think it's called super glue remover or something. But what I found too is just by just doing stuff, you kind of pick something up or you play a bit of guitar. It's like I'm kind of wearing it off now, so it'll be gone in the next half an hour, an hour. I wash my hands like 3 times now, and of course the super glue doesn't really come off. Swarfega? S-W-A-R-F-E-G-A. I don't know what that means. Jade? It's funny, isn't it? Because at the moment I'm just playing straight into the amp. Oh, crap. Oh, it's an industrial solvent hand cleaner. Ah, wonder if you can get it in New Zealand. I mean, this is just about off anyway. I mean, the other thing too is I have to be super careful about my hands. I tend to get my hands react to a lot of stuff. when I was a teenager, I used to get a lot of like spots and stuff on my hands, which was to do with chemicals. So I got to be kind of careful about that sort of stuff. So, I mean, it's all good. Just feels funny. It's like you feel like you're not really touching the string in the same kind of way. Maybe that's, the whole Stevie Ray Vaughan thing. Do you know what I mean? Where he would put super glue on his fingers to... It's a spray can penetrating oil like WD-40. Very interesting. Haven't played guitar at all today. Yeah, I can definitely feel that I need to warm up for half an hour before I want to do any of that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff the Tom Bukovac thing, Isn't Tom just the coolest guy? I put out that video the other day where I showed that lick that he did, this thing, the chord sequence, which was... And then as he mentioned it, so he piped up and left a comment, which was like, oh dude, you don't have to watch my stuff. And that is a tricky sequence to try and do. Give it a try. But he was just saying, he was just thinking cycle of fifths, right? Which makes sense, right? F to B flat is a fifth up. Fifth down, fourth up. And that's up a fifth. So it's a cycle of fifths, really, isn't it? But I'd never thought to do that. If I was in the key of A, there's no way I'd kind of jump up and start on an F. And then, of course, as he mentioned, if you keep going around the cycle, it would be D, G, C, F, takes you back, right? And that's the start of the loop. Deuteronomy says, I tend to run out of ideas when I'm playing over repeated 2/5 progressions. Any tips? Yeah, so 2/5s is kind of like home base for jazz music, right? 2 of the key, so if we're in C, D minor is the 2 chord. In this case, I'm playing D minor 9, but color it as you please. And then G7, in this case, I'm playing G13, but color it as you please. That's the 5 chord. And then 1, right? But you don't have to go to the 1 chord. You can just go 2/5, like holding back the ears. That's all that is. A couple of really good things you can do is just try and be like really simple with the 2/5/1, right? And if you think about like what is the simplest thing, well, in this case, it's just D Dorian, isn't it? Right, that'll spell D minor really well. And if you look at, if I go to the next chord, G7, I play G Mixolydian. They're the same set of notes. So just by thinking D Dorian over both, I've essentially gone D Dorian to G Mixolydian. Now, it's not G Mixolydian, but you know what I mean? Essentially, that's the result I get, right? So start there and just try and come up with really good melodies. Because the thing with it is if you play a good melody, people will go with you wherever you go with that idea, right? But you can play all kinds of like really fast stuff or flash stuff, and people will just ignore it if it's not played with the right intention or emotional connection. Do you know what I mean? And that's the key to it, right? So to me, I just take something simple like that. And what can you do with it over this? Heaps. So that's really just like kind of bobbing and weaving my way around that kind of simple sound. Then of course you could do it up an octave. and then all across the neck, right? I'll show you a really good 2-5-1 trick, right? And this is one that Bruce Foreman showed me. So if we're in D, or C major, but we start on a D, right? 2-5-1. Whatever you do on the D minor, so you just played the arpeggio, take the exact same thing and go up a minor third, and that'll work beautifully over the 5 chord. And then the key here is to resolve, to bring you back into C. Right. So there I didn't play the exact same thing on moving up that minor third, but I played essentially the same thing but in reverse, right? It's a great one. I think he got that from Joe Pass. Is that my amp crackling back there? And the key with any of that stuff is to be melodic, be grooving, leave space, all those kind of things that are musical, and it will make sense. Jade says that's brilliant. A kind of modal superimposition idea. Love that stuff. Yeah, exactly. It is essentially it's just modal interchange, isn't it? I'm addicted to Mixolydian flat 6 over the 5 at the moment. Cool. Yeah, it's a good one as well. The thing I like about that little thing of whatever you play on the 2 chord, move it up a minor third, is you don't have to be thinking much, right? And that's what often I think comes up with the best music, is when you're not thinking. As soon as you have to kind of put a whole lot of thought process in things, process, very American sounding, thought process into things, it's slow, right? And on the bandstand or when you're improvising a solo or whatever, you want things to be fast so you can kind of go bang, 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 there's my idea. And that's just such an easy one. And that's kind of a cool one. So there on the F, I just played the jazz minor instead. Lots of options. Another one that you can do, right, is like whatever I have on the D minor chord, I'm going to go 2-5-1, right? Same thing. Whatever I have on the D chord, just go down a semitone, and you have the tritone, and there's your resolution, right? 2, 5, but tritone sub 5, 1. Right, and that one works really good as well because, so again, I mean, you could think, oh, I'm going 2 and then I'm going to go the 5 chord and just tritone sub it. You don't even have to think that. Start on the 2 chord, move down 1 semitone, move down 1 semitone, you're there. Yeah, heaps of things you can do on 2-5-1s though too. But another one, if you want, while I'm on this track, instead of D minor, play A minor over D minor. Easy one to see. So whatever you play on the 2 chord, go up a 5th, right? So that's an easy one to see. Right. So we go. Hey Aaron, how you doing, man? You right? And then when you go to the 5 chord, go up 1 semitone. Just using pentatonics. And then when you go to the C, right, so you end up with it's kind of an easy one, right? Because you have A minor, B flat minor, B over. Right, give those a try. Yeah, flick me an email, Aaron, and we'll see if we can book something in. I think you were looking to do something before Christmas if we can. If not, it's all good. We can catch up in the new year. That'd be great. Shouldn't read comments. Focus on playing. Oh yeah, no worries. I know what it's like. It's that time of year, right? It becomes family time, so yeah, it's all good. Is that my chair? Yeah, I think it is. I got a wriggly chair that makes a racket. I haven't played the Strat for so long. Actually, I'm glad I'm playing it today. It kind of needs a bit of a workout. Oh, you're too kind, Aaron. That's very nice of you to say. Aaron just said, for any on the stream, Nick's the best teacher I've ever seen, true master. Oh, man, yeah, that makes my day to hear things like that, because, I really enjoy teaching. I like, I know some musicians kind of just, they do teaching because they're like, they haven't got enough gigs or whatever. And I've never kind of looked at it that way. I always said to myself, if I haven't got enough gigs and I have to start teaching to do that, I'm just going to stop. I'll do something. I'll get a job in a bank or something. I'll make more money, right? Because if it's about making money, then that's just dumb. So for me, like, the reason I teach, I mean, of course, you have to make money. You've got to pay for the lights and what have you. But the reason I teach is I just love seeing people learn, and that when you see the light switch go on in someone's brain where they go, something kind of clicks with them. There's nothing better, really. Because that's why we do music, if you think about it, right? It's not about us, or shouldn't be, right? Now, some people it is. Some people are kind of selfish, and, that's fine. But generally, most musicians I know are usually very giving people, and like when they play, they want other people to feel something about what they're playing. So it's about the other person. I remember talking to Mike Stern about this when he was here, and he was saying that he's got this idea that a lot of musicians drink too much or take too much drugs or all that kind of stuff because they're sensitive people, right? Makes sense when you think about it, right? Sensitive people who, like, we want to give to other people, and if we're giving and not getting back, can be pretty tough, you know what I mean? And then that's sometimes when putting out all this music in the world. Aaron says you've got a natural gift for it, probably because you're actually so passionate about what you do. Yeah, I am passionate about it for sure. Nick is the first guy who's actually resonated with me and opened up a lot of new things. Oh man, I'm stoked to hear that. That's great. Yeah. I'm not doing a lot of teaching these days. I used to do quite a bit when I taught at a university here. As that classic story, you start on 2 hours teaching a week. Next thing you know, it ends up being 5 hours. Next thing you know, it's a day. And before you know it, I was doing like 2 full days of teaching, which was, at that level, is pretty full on. But then when we moved to Europe, I stopped teaching, did no teaching. And I missed it, which it was kind of a year off. And actually I did a couple of lessons. Like if someone wanted like a one-off, I do that. Then when I go back, I kind of it was all the lockdown stuff, and I kind of became more picky about it. And I decided I'm just going to teach when I want. So I just teach like an afternoon a week now. But I'm teaching quite a bit with the YouTube stuff too, which has been really good. But it's different than teaching someone on a one-on-one lesson. If you teach a one-on-one lesson, the person feeds information back. They'll ask something that you go, oh. And then they'll say, oh, what about this? And you go, oh, yeah, this is how you do it. You know what I mean? Whereas if I'm presenting on something on YouTube, I'm just putting something out in the world. and seeing where it goes. But it's good too. Cool thing with YouTube is you can reach a whole lot of people. I probably watch more YouTube than anything else. I was thinking about that today. I was watching a thing. What did I watch today? I watched a video of Tim Pierce this morning where he was talking about the 10 things that pros do differently than amateurs or something like that. And the first one was one that resonated with me right from the beginning. Tim hit it out of the park. If you guys don't know Tim Pierce, you should check him out. Tim, I was well aware of Tim long before the YouTube thing, kind of like Tom Bukovac in that it's bloody hot here too, by the way, so if you see me sweating, that's what that's about. But because he's a studio guy, he's a session guy, kind of, which is what I do. I do a lot of recording work. And so, you check out the bigwigs, the LA guys like Tim Pierce. And Tim, in this video, one of the first tip he gave for amateurs to kind of become more pro-like, or whatever the title was play along with recordings. It's one of the best things I've done, and I still do it now, like all the time. A couple of favorites. I really like playing along to Josie, Steely Dan. I really like playing along to Superstitious. And what's interesting to a lot of people that I talk about the sorts of tunes that I do, like I do Sir Duke pretty regularly. I'll play along to that recording, Master Blaster, a lot of Stevie Wonder stuff, a lot of James Brown, a lot of groove stuff. It's more rhythm guitar than it is lead guitar stuff that I play along to. And most people are surprised about that. They're kind of like, oh, because I'm mostly what I do when I play gigs is I'm mostly known as a soloist. Like this movie soundtrack we did on Friday night, the holiday movie. I was playing guitar one, so there was another guitar player there, and he more of a classical guy. But so my thing was guitar one had a lot of the melody lines on the nylon string guitar, so this is what I do, right? I'll end up doing the main kind of guitar parts when I do this stuff. But what I work on rhythm guitar probably more than anything, rhythms and stuff, and not just rhythm guitar, but rhythms in general. So something like I might do something like Syrian 4/4. I might be working on. So you can't see my foot probably at the moment, but I'm thinking 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3, 1. But over 4, right? So we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. Right? So you end up getting a 3/4 pattern, but over 4/4. So. So I would look at that as a rhythm exercise that I'll do. I'm not necessarily, it's not rhythm guitar, but it's a rhythm exercise, right? Here's another one. You know what I mean? Could be something like this. So a group of 5 over 4, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So on, you know what I mean? So I probably spend more time working on that kind of stuff than anything else. But yeah, it really resonated with me with what Tim Pierce said about, playing along with recordings and trying to absorb that groove. Because what I'm doing when I'm playing along to recordings is I'm trying to match exactly what the person did. So that's why I play along to a lot of stuff that's like really great groove feeling stuff, right? Like play along to Stevie Wonder because I want to absorb that groove that Stevie's and his band are playing. You won't catch me playing along to U2. I'm sorry if people like U2. I kind of like U2. Do you know what I mean? I think they've had some good songs, but that's not a groove that I want in my playing. You know this. Or whatever, you know. I mean, I think the Edge is brilliant. I think they're all brilliant, but it's not really groovy stuff. And most of the stuff I'm working on is like, I want to get the groove into my playing. So it's like I said, Stevie Wonder or James Brown or Prince stuff or all kinds of things. You know what I mean? Good question. So Aaron says, how would you resolve to a minor major 9 chord? Right. So the classic minor major 9 chord that you'll all know. Needs to be there. That one. Now you can play it here too. Played by Vic Flick. So I've always played it there. I thought that sounded better. It sounds darker, but whichever. So we're in E. It would be G, B, D sharp, F sharp. The way I kind of view those chords is they belong to the melodic minor family. And what the melodic minor is I'll make this kind of quick. So in classical music, melodic minor has an ascending pattern and a descending pattern. The ascending pattern, the way upwards, I'll do it in A. Looks like that. Oh, I'll just do the upwards. Basically, it's a major scale but with a minor third. Instead of, it's... But that changes everything. If we think about what's going on there, it's got a minor third, it's got a natural fifth, and it's got a major 7. So there's your minor major 7 sound, right? Now, in classical theory, the reason you go backwards, a different scale, is because if you were to play down the scale, I've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 notes before you actually hear that it's minor. Could be major otherwise, right? So the idea is that to change it on the descending way, but that's essentially just harmonic minor, isn't it? And that's why most jazz musicians and pop musicians and rock musicians, everyone, but we'll call it the jazz minor. And we do the ascending version of the melodic minor. And that's the sound you want on a minor major 7 chord, or minor major 9. The 9 is just a color. So 1, 2, flat, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Will Jork says, nope, that is not it. Requires a Bigsby. I don't think he had a Bigsby on it, did he? For Vic Flick. I've seen an article where he was talking about the guitar he used, and it was actually like a cheap, nasty kind of classical, not classical, archtop, like a jazz guitar. But he stuffed a pickup in it. And apparently he couldn't even get the pickup, was rattling around, because you know, if anyone who's dealt with archtop guitars, you know what rattling pickups are like. They're kind of a nuisance. So he got a cigarette packet and shoved it in there to kind of get the pickup to stay. And of course he played. Yeah, and I've heard Vic Flick play it a few times recently on the same guitar. I don't remember it having a Bigsby. Maybe he did that kind of stuff, I don't know. But maybe it did, I don't know. You let me know if you find out. There's actually a video of him on YouTube I've seen where he's playing that exact theme on the exact guitar. Apparently he got paid like £7 to do that session or something like that. And he said he went straight after the session, went to McDonald's and spent the whole lot. I guess at the time it's just a session, right? He probably didn't know it was going to be this massive, famous, big hit. It's probably the most famous guitar part of all time, right? You go, and everybody knows exactly what it is, right? That's the kind of guitar part I want to come up with, is one that's like that identifiable, right? Be crazy to come up with that, and yeah, I'd be set for life, right? I'd have all the McDonald's I ever want. No. I actually don't like McDonald's, and I'm fat enough already. I don't need that stuff. Yeah, I don't know why that chord kind of sounds so To me, it's a spooky sound, isn't it? That minor major 7 sound. And I think what it is one of the reasons is that it sounds spooky. If I play a minor 7 chord, like if we think about traditionally how chords should sound, right? Major chords should sound happy, generally. Minor chords should sound sad. This is a Robin Ford analogy, right? Major chords happy, minor chords sad, dominant chords funky. I thought that was a great way of looking at it that Robin said. But yeah, major should be happy, minor should be sad. So here's an E minor 7. Doesn't sound very sad to me, does it? Does it to you? I don't particularly get a sad sound from those. I think the reason is those are major scale modes, essentially. Like an E minor 7 could come from G major. So you'd say that's belonging to the Aeolian mode if you want that, or Dorian, or whichever one. And those are all derivative of major. And so therefore they sound kind of still happy-ish, even though they're minor, right? Whereas minor major 7 is derivative of that jazz minor, melodic minor thing I said. Right? That's where it's coming from. And so therefore that sound to me is like probably why it sounds more sad, right? Spooky. Someday my prince will come. Yes, Jade Owen says, always reminds me of Someday My Prince Will Come. Yeah, I love that tune. It's great tune, isn't it? One of my favorite versions of that tune is Julian Lage and Martin Taylor playing it duo, just 2 guitars. And Martin plays this intro, and then Julian plays this intro, and Martin goes, play some more, because Julian's just killing it. And then Martin plays some beautiful stuff. It's stunning. I remember transcribing some of the bits they were doing, just kind of stealing a few ideas. I couldn't even tell you what they are now because I haven't practiced them since. But I remember at the time kind of analysing a couple of ideas and going, that's what's going on there. So good. I don't really transcribe all that much these days. Most of the time it's like if I'm learning something, it's just I get the bit I want, the phrase I need to do. If I hear something cool, I try and figure it out, and I go and then I'm on and I absorb it and work on it. But in terms of like transcribing whole solos, I haven't done that for years. I used to. I don't actually know that it's the best way to go anyway. People say it is. People say, you should do heaps of transcribing. It's good for you. And I think in theory it is. But then I remember talking to Larry Coons about it, really great jazz guitar player in Los Angeles, like a badass player. And Larry, I said to him, have you done a lot of transcribing? He goes, I did some when I was at music school. He goes, I suppose it was useful. I went, shit, That, and saying that, he's talking about, we're talking about full transcriptions. He's probably like picked up so many little bits and pieces from all these things, because that's what we do. Essentially, we're collectors, right? So for me, if I hear someone play something, I go, what is that? And I try and figure it out. And it really annoys me if I can't get it. You know what I mean? I want to get the idea. Like if I hear someone play something like, I go, I got to figure that out. And then I kind of figure it out and absorb it. And then I'm moved on to the next thing. And a lot of my stuff is that I'm doing like nowadays in terms of learning things. It's learning for the gig. So, like the movie soundtrack I did on Friday night, The Holiday, was kind of classical guitar. And there was a really slow tune that went. Oh, sorry. Can't remember it. I'd have to have a look at the music, but with that one I was kind of, and it was interesting because the classic thing that happens is whenever you have to play fingerstyle, right? Like because it's playing a nylon string guitar, I don't know if you can see that, but I cut my finger right there, and I cut my thumb right there. So you'd put your thumb on that angle. Well, that's right where the cut is, and this one is, sure I'm on my fingertips, but every so often you'll kind of do something where it'll just touch that, and you're like. See, even now I can feel that. Finger picking on electric guitar is kind of weird, but I can kind of do it. I've actually got a video that's I'm going to do tomorrow. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do the one finger picking pattern that I use on everything. Because there's one pattern that you can pretty much play over everything. Aaron says, "Lowell, I tried fingerstyle, Derek truck style, and ripped up my finger open." Yeah, I mean, fingers. I like playing with my fingers a lot, but it's interesting. I'm preparing for this gig. I did get a little bit of a blister on my first finger here because I played that nylon string guitar more than I have for ages, right? Because I don't do that many things that are classical, right, these days. If I am, it's sort of classical, different kind of thing. But to have to play like a lot of nylon, because at least half that show was nylon string. It was Hans Zimmer who wrote the music. Half was nylon string. I'd say 30% was steel string acoustic, which is kind of with a pick, and then electric, which was with a pick. And so electric stuff was fine. But yeah, interesting. I mean, for me, the main reason I use my fingers is like a textural difference, right? If I go, I posted a short showing where I put the pick, right? You have the pick here, and then I put it between those two. I posted a short on my channel showing about how I do that, right? Yeah, Mike says you really need a bit of nails to play fingerstyle. You do if you want to play the classical style, but the stuff I do generally is more the Brazilian thing, and you can, like. And so for that stuff, actually having your nails would make it too bright and it doesn't work as well. So yeah, for the classical stuff you should. But even then, I find I prefer the sound of the finger than the nail. When I play fingerstyle, and this is just me, totally different. My fingernails are really short. I've been biting my nails since I was a baby, apparently. My mother tells me. The thing is with me, like, because I'm primarily a pick player, 99% of the time, I'm playing with a pick. When I do use my fingers, I want the tonal difference. I want it. You know what I mean? It just sounds different than. So I want the tonal difference. So for me, it's like it's all about the flesh of your fingers, not nails, because to me nails sound like a pick. They're kind of bright. So yeah, to me, I don't want nails for what I do, but I totally get it that other people do. Yeah, so Aaron, that's a good bossa nova. Yeah, the heaps of bossa nova stuff. I really like it. A good one to start with is the old jazz tune Blue Bossa, right? Right, that's a really cool bossa nova to start with. Blue Bossa or Day in the Life of a Fool. What's that called? So yeah, Black Orpheus is the name of that tune. Any of those Latin tunes in the real book are good place to start. João Bosco, someone I really like. There was a guy I studied with a bit called Weber Lopez, who a Brazilian guy, came out here for a week at the university. Learned a lot about that music from him. Oh man, that's nice to hear. Jade says, whenever I do solo jazz stuff, I always end up playing with my fingers. Yeah, me too. Just because the gets too awkward, and yeah, the tone just easier to get softer. I'm also 90% of the time, but yeah, I'm the same. If I play solo, I tend to play fingerstyle. For the same reasons. It's much easier to get the bass line going with the chords and the whole thing. And but it's an interesting thing. Even that, I find that that when I do solo gigs, I definitely wouldn't play a Strat. It feels so weird to play bossa nova on a Strat. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. An archtop guitar, or even better, a nylon string guitar would be perfect. You know what I mean? Even cheap nylon string guitars can be decent. But the thing is, what I find is that, yeah, I play fingerstyle most of the time because it just sounds nice. Oh, thanks. That's nice. Jade says, sorry, Jade says, man, Nick, you got that style down. I've done a lot of playing of bossa nova stuff, but I definitely am no specialist at it. I'm kind of a jazz guy playing bossa nova more than someone who's legit. But I can do it like a lot of styles that I do. The styles that I'm most comfortable with are probably jazz, definitely blues, definitely funk, kind of groove pop type stuff like that. But I can do some classical, but I'm definitely no specialist. And if someone rings me, like say it was a gig and it was all classical guitar the whole night, I'd be like, book a classical guitarist. Or country, I can do a little bit of country, but I'm no specialist. But that's the thing with doing sessions, is I can do enough to do one or two tunes. Yeah, so Aaron says, speaking of rhythm practice, can you play Take 5 from the Bad Benson album? I love his work. Yeah, that's great. I can't remember exactly how GB plays it, but the way I've always done it was I learned that tune, of course, in... See how I naturally just put my pick down? Because if I want to play that, the bass and the chords... So right, it's normally an E flat. To me, it just makes more sense in E if you play guitar, right? It just makes more sense. Oh, cheers, Simon. He says, have a great break. Just waking up over here. We'll be S. Oh, Merry Christmas to you, Simon, and Aaron, and Jade, and everyone here. Mike. So yeah, to me it just made more sense in E. Do you know what I mean? So when I learn that, when I play that tune, I play in E because it's just like now I got open strings. And the thing I find with grooves like that is that it's much easier if you start thinking 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2. Don't try and think 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. What's that noise again? Is that the amp? It can't be my seat. Did you guys hear that? It's like, maybe it is the amp. Haven't played it in a while. Oh, seeing family. Yeah. That's the thing I love about Christmas is it's like you get together with the family and catch up with everyone. And a lot of my family live nearby, but we don't see each other that often. We're all busy. I got gigs when everyone else is at home in the weekends and nights. And then people work during the day when I'm usually home. So it's kind of, being a musician is a hard time to see your family. But that's what I love about Christmas. It brings everybody together and get together with your family and do all your stuff. So yeah, Jade says need to get the hollow body down from out there. Yeah, no, I've got a bunch of amps actually. I've got a Mesa Boogie sitting in the hallway. I've got my two Victorias. Actually, I've been kind of contemplating selling one of them. I know I didn't think I'd ever do that, but I got no room for stuff. Stuff's having to sit out in the hallway at the moment, driving my family nuts. But yeah, my Fractal stuff is all packed up because I had it up from the gig and I just didn't get a chance to get it all out. So I was like, the amp's sitting there. It was already ready to go, so I just plugged it in and played. But what I do find when I'm using the amp, these Victorias don't have reverb, right? And you can hear the springs in the guitar. Makes me play different. I don't want to go and leave a gap because it's like, oh, there's nothing there. Whereas if I had a bit of reverb, I would, right? So I find really dry sounds like that make me want to play funk. They're just, that's kind of what inspires that kind of sound. You know what I mean? Aaron says, does your daughter play? No, she doesn't. I've told her a couple of songs. She's kind of like a little bit interested in it a few times, but her thing's dancing more than anything. That's what she's really into. So she does dance classes 3 or 4 days a week. She's got a good ear. She knows music. She's been around a lot of music and heard a lot of music. My wife, her mother, is also a musician in the classical world, so different stuff. So she gets a wide variety of the stuff between the two of us, and she's kind of growing up with music. But I think because of that, she's kind of just like, whatever. Yeah, I'm the only musician person in the whole family. So there must have been a postman. Yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, well, my brother and I grew up playing together, and he still plays a little bit, but not professionally. But yeah, we grew up playing together, and our stepfather was a guitar player. My mother doesn't even own a stereo. All right. Mike says, did you negotiate a decent wage for the upcoming big orchestra Christmas gig? I read your comment on Rob Harris's recent vid about music business. Yeah, I did actually. They came to the party on that one. It was weird. Like the offer this year was 25% less than last year. I actually worked it out, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. That's rubbish. Same gig, same music. There's going to be, I don't know. They shut off all the streets. It could be 20,000 people there. Orchestra, big gig. So you got to play the right guitar parts, and there's a heap of guitar songs in there, like "Don't Stop Believing," "We Are the Champions," like big guitar features. So it's got to be the right thing. 25% less. I'm like, come on. So I went back to them because what they do is with those orchestra gigs, just if you want to know, you don't get a gig fee. It's not like, oh, here's a gig, it's worth $1,000. Will you do it? It's a 3-hour gig. There'll be some rehearsals. It's not like that. The way they work is they go, okay, here's the gig is 2 hours, but we'll give you a 3-hour call, and then there's a 3-hour rehearsal and a 2-hour rehearsal or whatever. All up, it's 8 hours, and we'll pay you 8 hours at X amount of money, whatever it is. They have the orchestral rate. Sometimes they do special rates like for this. So, but this year, because of instead of it being an 8-hour call, right, 2 rehearsals and a show, this year they cut it down to 6 hours. So, I still got to do the same amount of preparation to get all the material down. I guess still do the same gig, but now I'm getting 6 hours of call instead of 8 hours of call, which is like, 2 hours less rehearsal. What difference does it make? So they were good. They were accommodating, and they came to the party on that, and at least paid what I got last year. So we haven't gone backwards. The crazy thing is, had I accepted that money that they offered the first time, I definitely would have been earning less than the sound people. I would have been earning less than the lighting guy and girl and all those people. I know I'm earning would have been earning less than the guy who's bringing the amp to set it up for me to play the gig. So it's just, that shit's crazy. So that's why I said it on Rob's page. So if you guys don't know, Rob Harris, he's the guitar player in Jamiroquai. I've met Rob a bunch of times. We're friends. He's a good cat. Love Rob. He's a beautiful man. Yeah, so, and I've actually talked to Rob about being on the channel here and doing an interview hang type thing. So we've been trying to get that happen in December, but it's just been crazy. So hopefully January, if we can, early January, maybe even February. And I was also talking to Charlie Allen, a friend of mine too, the other day, and Charlie's agreed to do a guest slot on this. Charlie's the guitar player for Incognito now, and with Tom Misch. Tom Misch has just put out a new album, and he's playing on that. Charlie's great. Charlie used to take some lessons with me, so I've known him for a while. Which seems crazy to say that Charlie Allen used to have the occasional lesson with me when he's such a badass. One of London's best, without a doubt. But yeah, so I've been talking to those guys about it. But yeah, Rob did a video on his YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to Rob's YouTube channel, you should go over and check it out. He produces some great stuff. I hate to call it content, so we'll just call it stuff. Yeah, but yeah, he was talking about the music business and kind of the harsh reality of it. It was all based off a mutual friend of ours, Adam Goldsmith. I know Adam a little bit, whereas I think him and Rob are pretty good friends, you know. But I've interviewed Adam for the channel here, and Adam put a thing up on his Instagram about how, you know, people wanting to get into session work and what that entails and the music business, and particularly around music schools. And he was talking about how it's just stupid to get into debt to be a musician, to go to a music school. Just don't. And I agree with him totally. But anyway, I've been thinking about doing a video about specifically that and giving my thoughts in it. Because, you know, I have some opinions about it and some things based on what my experience is. Because my experience is quite different. Those guys are all based in the UK, whereas I'm based in the little island in New Zealand. With about 5 million people in this country. It's been like that for a long time. Yeah, I know, right? On a side note, you post the greatest guitar memes on your social media. Yeah, I do like to post memes on my Instagram, especially my Instagram stories. So, because hey, what's life worth living if you can't have a laugh, right? And it's all guitar stuff. And there's a couple of pages that I follow where I see some really good stuff, and I just screenshot it and then share it on mine. So I'm not making this stuff. I just the things that I see that kind of make me laugh. And Cameron Jones, a really great Australian guitar player, a friend of mine. Cameron posts some funny shit, man. That guy's funny. He's got a great sense of humor, and so whenever I see him post stuff, I often share it. I try and tag him when I can remember to. Jade says, I had the survivor guilt from sound work in the 90s and 2000s. What do you mean survivor guilt? Not sure. Aaron says, orchestras unionized in New Zealand like they are in the States. It's where it's all time strict. Yeah, I think they kind of are, but I'm not sure how it works with this particular orchestra because we're contractors coming in. We're not part of the orchestra. So then it all gets complicated, and that's the argument I've been making with them for a while, is that, you know, we can't be treated like orchestra musicians. It's like, you know, they might be willing to do it for a smaller fee than we are, but that's because they might get 20 gigs over the year. I might get 3. I might get none. I might get this one and then there's nothing else for the rest of the year. So it needs to be like, if you're as a contractor, say you worked for telecom or something like that, or like an energy company or whatever, contractors get paid more than the people who are on salaries, right? That's just how it goes. I got paid when the musos often didn't. I know it's sad, isn't it? Like the sound guys get paid, the catering get paid, all these things, and then often people are trying to screw down the musicians. And that's kind of one of the things that Rob was talking about and making a point about, is it's always the musicians. And it's interesting. Look, I got crap on my face too. Excuse me, folks. Look at this scruffy musician. It's always the musicians that kind of do that, right? Like you know, these hurricane fundraisers that go on or whatever, like there'll be a natural, like in Australia, there's those wildfires and all that, and they put on a concert to kind of raise some money. And I was thinking, I'll bet you the sound people are getting paid, I'll bet you the security are getting paid, and I'll bet you all the musicians donating their time. You know, amazing cause to do for, because that was really shit what happened in Australia. But it's always the musicians is the point that you know. Aaron said, what was the best gig you've ever done? Good question. Lots of them. I don't know if I have one gig that I'd say was the best, but I've had a lot of like highlight gigs. Touring with Mike Stern was definitely one of the highlights of my career for sure. Had about 10 days on the road with Mike, playing with Layla Hathaway when she was here last year, was it? Did an orchestra gig, symphony orchestra gig with her and rhythm section, and she, even though she was sick, it was still just like, wow. Touring with Patty Austin was a bit like that. You know, she sort of had this aura about her. It was almost like regal in a sense, you know, just amazing. Touring with Kurt Elling, that was something special. Dancing with the Stars gig, when we did that for 5 years when that gig used to exist in Wellington. You know, I did that, yeah, 5 years of playing on that TV show. I really enjoyed that gig. It was well paid. It was a great high profile thing. They'd on average have about 1 million people tune into that show. And for a country of 5 million people, there's a lot of people that are tuning in, right? Not on average, I should say. On average, it was less than that. But when they do the big shows like the season finales or whatever, and you know, what I liked about that gig was that we played different music every week. There's always 10 or 12 tunes we had to play. You never got them in advance. We'd turn up and there was 12 charts on your stand, and the MD would be like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're in. You got to go. Right, and it was everything from jazz, a lot of jazz kind of swing tunes because of you know, ballroom dancing, that kind of stuff. But there was Latin tunes. Sometimes we had to do like orchestra things, even though we're only like a 10-piece band. Like I remember we did the theme from Gladiator, the Gladiator movie, and that you know, that something like 100-piece orchestra. You know, I think there was like 10 percussionists or 10 double basses, and we're a 10-piece band. So actually, I played guitar synth on a lot of that stuff. And it's funny, I remember doing that show, and there was this Australian MD rang the musical director of that show, of Dancing with the Stars, and said, I heard the show last night, and he goes, who's the accordion player you had? I've got a recording session for him. I'll fly him over to Sydney like tomorrow to come and do the recording session. And Carl, who was the MD of the New Zealand one, said, that was Nick with his guitar synth. Because we did this tango thing, and I had an accordion, and he was fooled. He thought it was real, and he couldn't believe that someone could play accordion like that, because it was me playing it on guitar, right? And you can do things on a guitar that might be difficult on an accordion. And also too, I think there's something about this is very early guitar synth technology. I had one of those Roland GRs. And when you have those things, there's quite a bit of latency. So you have to actually play ahead of the beat so it marries up. And I think because I was playing that way, it was probably coming out quite sitting on the back of the beat, just the nature of it, which made it feel a certain way that really suited the tango. I think that's probably what he resonated with him, I suspect. But I thought that was funny. But yeah, that was definitely a highlight gig for sure, you know, getting to do that. But there's been heaps, you know, lots of really good gigs and some shitty ones. And that's the life of a musician. I really enjoy doing these movie soundtracks we've been doing. I enjoy doing the musical theatre gigs. I did We Will Rock You earlier in the year, and getting to play 30-something shows and doing Bohemian Rhapsody every night. And had to do that on a tremolo guitar, but you get the idea. Although this shouldn't move too much. Yeah, I'm going to have to split in a minute, people. It's been 83 minutes. Wow. I don't normally do live streams this long. Usually it's like an hour that I do. By the way, too, you know, I remember mentioning a little while ago that I was... oh, thanks, man. You didn't have to send me a PayPal. That's very kind of you. Thanks very much. Yeah, the guitar that I was going to make, I haven't got any further with that. The guitar neck's sitting in the corner, and I bought a piece of mahogany that's sitting in the garage waiting to go. But I'm thinking early in the next year, I might have to have a start on that. I printed out some plans for a Telecaster. This is going to be kind of like a Tele with a Strat neck, but kind of Strat appointments and different things. So kind of Tele. The plan I have is kind of like what Andy Wood's guitar looks like. Kind of Tele-ish, but kind of Strat-ish in the middle. Yeah, Brian Mayer's a genius. I absolutely love his playing. One of my favorite rock guitar players for sure. Anyway, folks, I'm going to have to go. Thank you very much for being here. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you all have a good time and see the people you love. And drink, be merry, eat lots of food. Isn't it great that it's the one thing we have to worry about is eating too much food. Take care, everyone. Hey, I'll see you soon. I'll still be doing videos. I'm going to do them all the way through. I'll post the video on Christmas Day, but I'll explain about that. But I'm actually going to pre-record it. I got a plan for that. I want to play sort of a Christmas Carol type jazz guitar arrangement of a song, and it'll be kind of cool. Little bit of a message in there too. Yeah. Anyway, thanks very much. Take care, everyone. Lots of love. Bye.